The gangs in the Grand Theft Auto series play hellishly important roles, and every part of the series is filled to the brim with them. Starting from simple street gangs originating most often from the ghetto or slums, through mafias bound by codes, honor, and traditions, and ending with drug cartels and syndicates, which are a bit like a mixture of the two types of criminal organizations we mentioned a moment earlier. However, certain groups are not mentioned very often, and when we try to get to know them better, it turns out that, due to some features, which we will talk about in a moment, they are even more terrifying. One such gang is, among others, the Haitian gang in GTA Vice City, which we will take a closer look at today. Seemingly, this is just a typical street gang, but it isn't really. In our opinion, the Haitians could seriously threaten even the great empire of Tommy Vercetti. But we'll not spoil too much for now, as we'll discuss it in detail later.
Okay, Auntie.
In the meantime, welcome to the Gaming Investigators channel, and without further ado, let's get to work. First of all, it would be worth saying a little bit about the history of the Haitians themselves. If any of you watched our review on GTA Vice City, you probably remember a real-world event called Mariel Boatlift. Since there will be people who have not seen this video yet, we will briefly tell you what this event was about. Mariel Boatlift concerned the mass migration of Cuban and Haitian minorities to Florida. The main reason for this migration turned out to be the strong economic crisis in Cuba, but soon political reasons also appeared, which strongly affected the Haitians as well. The whole action took place before 1980, when many immigrants from Haiti arrived on the American coast by boat. Unfortunately, people did not receive any legal protection there, as they were considered economic migrants rather than political refugees. As a result, the United States was in serious turmoil, and Presidents Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford heated the atmosphere even more by informing the public that there were no plans to create an asylum in the United States for Haitian refugees. Unfortunately, the situation changed only after Jimmy Carter took power in the US. The Carter administration then sought to establish legal status for Haitian refugees, which restored the hope of the Haitians of getting the help they expected. Carter himself even prepared a special statement for the occasion where he emphasized that, from now on, all refugees from Haiti and Cuba will be approved to live in the country. As a consequence, from mid-April to November 1980, nearly 25,000 Haitians reached the United States. Looking at the events of the game, it can be concluded that the largest percentage of Haitians appeared there in the years 1984 to 1986. We know this, for example, from the fact that in 1984, in Little Haiti, there was still the Mexican Cholos gang, and we could not find Haitians anywhere. And now, we will move on to the next point of the episode, where we will talk about why we consider the Haitians to be the most underrated gang in Vice City, and perhaps even in the entire 3D universe. It would be impossible not to mention something that may be funny to some and that some may not believe in. Regardless of where the truth lies and how it is, it must be said that the developers strongly emphasize this particular feature. Haitians are just quite a famous nationality when it comes to practicing voodoo. And while the great majority of this religion is not based on curses or spells at all, it is undoubtedly one of the very controversial things. We can experience this best by looking at Auntie Poulet's story. It all starts with a mysterious phone that we receive after the Stunt Boat Challenge mission. The woman allegedly learned from her ancestors that Tommy was responsible for the death of the newly elected Haitian boss, Francois.
Tommy, enough dead man been chatting about you, my dear. Thought you might need something to make you feel better, so Auntie Poulet make you some stew, eh? Come and check me kitchen sometime, okay, Tommy?
It is worth noting that the content of the conversation does not make it clear that Tommy Vercetti must show up to her. Interestingly, Aunt Poulet does not sound completely upset, but quite the opposite. Of course, we can completely skip this thread and finish the story of the game without it. But if you like Umberto Robina and the Cubans, and you want to push their story forward, then missions for Haitians will be obligatory for you. However, let's now pay more attention to what the missions for Haitians look like. What catches the eye first is the very strange expression on Tommy Vercetti's face every time he visits the witch doctor. He almost looks like a zombie, and his statements give the impression that he is very dazed.
Look, this is all very, give me what? Yeah, I think I got the wrong
Give
address.
me these things, Tommy. Now be a good boy, Tommy, and go and get the powders for Auntie Poulet.
Yeah, sure.
Upon closer inspection, it can be concluded that it was made for a reason. The interior of Aunt Poulet's house is filled with various objects and smells after all. The scent of the brews and their taste makes Tommy unconsciously a slave to the local shaman. As can be seen in the mission Bombs Away, Vercetti even mentions that the interior of the apartment reminds him of his childhood.
This place feels familiar to me. It's a smell from childhood, a deja vu.
This kind of treatment is intentional, and Tommy's feelings are no coincidence. That's because when a person feels as if they are in the family home, they are more likely to carry out tasks that they probably would not undertake. Aunt Poulet has these kinds of topics well thought out. Not only that, the name of the mission is not meaningless at all, because juju is a magical ritual performed by witch doctors who practice voodoo. The items that contain juju vary, but mainly dolls are used. Any items or idols can only be made by a shaman for the spells to work. If the idol or object being used contains something physically related to the candidate, then after the shaman performs the ritual, the object is turned into a talisman or amulet, or is possibly made in the form of a potion that is prepared for consumption. Well, as we have noticed, Aunt Poulet constantly prepares various teas for Tommy, which are juju potions. All of this is to curse Tommy Vercetti and control him, of course. Furthermore, the juju doll symbol is a symbol of the Haitian gang itself, and in the game, you can often see members who have this sign painted on their shirts. Plus, the mere fact that the doll symbol can be found carved several times on a storm drain suggests that this might be a kind of curse placed on the entire region of Little Haiti to control the community living there. Generally, when we look at the game world, we can see how the developers took care of the whole topic and how passionate they were about it. We can find little details about the Haitians in many places. For instance, we can even come across quite an interesting discussion while driving a vehicle. Namely, in the VCPR radio station, during a conversation about perception and positive thinking, one of the guests, Jeremy Robard, mentions voodoo, namely the so-called chicken dance. Yes, we know it sounds funny.
I bet my ex-wife will be there waiting for me in the afterlife. The bitch is crazy. Hey, can you put a hex on my ex-wife? Like some kind of spooky voodoo or something?
I do dabble in the dark arts and magic.
I ain't talking about magic like pulling a rabbit out of your ass or pulling quarters out of your ears. I'm talking voodoo. You know, dance around with a chicken voodoo. That bitch was a grass.
Why does everyone assume that just because we're goths, we're weird?
I don't know.
It is one of the voodoo rituals during ceremonies where the priest or priestess usually sacrifices a chicken, but sometimes also another animal for the deity Loa through a characteristic dance. It is worth emphasizing that such rites have been conducted for thousands of years in the Haiti region. And the best thing is, it's possible that the tradition was also brought to Vice City and continued by Auntie Poulet. For example, chickens painted in a storm drain in Little Haiti speak in favor of this statement. To sum up today's episode, Aunt Poulet may be much more powerful than we think. The woman very cleverly chose not to be the leader of the Haitians for a simple reason. Hostile gangs would then consider her the #1 target and a serious threat. Therefore, Aunt Poulet decided that she would only play the role of the witch doctor. However, because the woman can control all Haitians, she can easily manage everything from the side while other gangs will not become suspicious of her. And what is most important from the point of view of the main character of the game, which we have already witnessed once, is that Tommy should be careful about what he is doing. Aunt Poulet had once managed to temporarily take control of Tommy Vercetti's mind. So, the chance that this could happen again at any time in the future is quite high, especially if Tommy would be causing trouble to Haitians again. What's more, leaving the subject of Aunt Poulet herself, even looking at the Haitians as a gang, they are really strong. Just look at how in the mission called Trojan Voodoo, we blow up their drug factory, and they still operate on the streets of the city as if nothing serious happened. This shows that despite the victory of the Cubans, this gang still found some alternatives. The Haitians probably continued their business without looking at the dire circumstances that had brought the gang to certain events. Moreover, we believe that if it had not been for Tommy's help, the Cuban gang would not stand a chance with the Haitians. Without Tommy's participation, it is highly likely that at some point the Haitians could take control of the entire western part of the city and kill all Cubans easily. If you liked this video, we strongly recommend you to watch the next episode of the sunny Vice City, namely how the Vance cartel collapsed. In the meantime, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Take care!